Welcome to the Writer's Game Podcast, where we help you magnify your voice and monetize your message. And now, let's get into the show.
Welcome to another episode of the Writer's Game Podcast, where we help you magnify your voice and monetize your message. I am your host, Kyle King, and we have another episode up. We have a really special guest today, somebody that is shifting people's perspectives, somebody that is inspiring people's hearts, and somebody that is uplifting people's souls. Miss Miller, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. So before we get into the weeds and all of the different strategies that I'm sure you're going to share, could you introduce yourself and tell us how you're using your story to change lives?
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Arnesjah, and I help female faith-based authors to leverage their stories and find confidence in their God-given identity so that they can build their brand and business.
I love that. You've practiced that a little bit.
I've had to.
And, I know you're also an author. Could you talk to us a little bit about your book, what that has done for you, and then also what you hope for that to do in the world as well?
Okay, well, I am a 3 times self-published author, and my second book is actually my bestseller. It's called I Am Chosen, and I have leveraged that journey, my story. I wrote it after I lost my job in 2019. I was in a very pivotal place of my life where I was like, okay, it's time to build a business and write a book. And that's where I learned the strategies of leveraging my story. And I learned how to help other business owners to use their book to start building different streams of income. So now I'm actually focused on helping individuals or women to build their confidence in their God-given identity, because oftentimes as authors, we're afraid to share our stories. We're afraid to get ourselves out there. We will publish a book and not tell anyone about it. And so I find that I work well with helping authors and helping females to bring out the best in themselves so that they can share their stories, make some sales as well, and connect with people ultimately. So that's my passion, and I'm excited to see what more is to come from it.
I love it. Could you talk to us a little bit about the importance of sharing your story in the first place? So somebody listening right now, they may feel like they have a story, but they're like, well, why should I even share it in the first place? Could you talk to that person?
Yes, your story has the ability to inspire someone. I want you to think about that time when you had something in your mind and your heart that you wanted to do, and you had a passion to do it, but you didn't know exactly how to do it, but someone came into your life and they shared their story. That's usually the impact that your story can leave on someone else. If you think about, like, if you watch a movie, if you read a book, you're gaining inspiration because you're listening to someone's journey, their story. They're breaking it down in so many different pieces so that you can get a good vision. The setting plays a part, the feeling, the aesthetics of the story plays a part. And that's how you get into the mind of individuals to get you to actually get motivated. And once you have that motivation, it's like, okay, now I just need a strategy for it. And so once you have the strategy to start leveraging your story, then you'll know how to connect with others and build your brand and business. So the power of your story is extremely important because that's what moves and generates your business and brand.
I love that. And I think it's so inspirational that you're helping so many women and just individuals in general unlock their story so that they could be impactful for the world. But before we continue, just kind of going back before we can move forward, what's your story? What makes you special? What was that experience that got you into everything that you're doing today?
Well, I know, I'll start from where I was 18 years old. I knew that I wanted to be a poet. I knew that I wanted to impact lives. But so, right after high school, I went for it. I went for the poetry lounges to get my voice known. But I was also dealing with a lot of pain inside. So my outlets were things like, smoking, looking for love in all the wrong places, and telling my story through poetry. And so that's where the journey of igniting my passion started. But to fast forward to where I am today, it took a lot of adventure. It took a lot of building self-character, self-development, love, things of that sort. But my main story is now I'm really passionate when it comes to helping women, because I realize that we are very vulnerable creatures and we have the ability to impact lives. We're not, this place and thing that, we're not diminished. We're actually stronger than we think and know. A lot of times our voices are shut out. A lot of times we are put into a category or put into a box, but really we have the ability to shift and change and impact people's lives, and even with men too. But I stick with the female zone because I feel like men, like, that's a whole nother level. I'm not going to go there, but I really feel like, you know, as a woman, we have the ability to impact each other. And as a Black woman, there's a lot of division. I can tell and see. I grew up with that, but I feel like because I've been through so much in my past and growing up without a mom, I'm really passionate when it comes to building community and love for others, because I know what it's like to be in pain. And my main purpose on earth is to bring peace. So, not to ramble off, but that's the real gut of it all. That's the gut of my story.
I love that. And when you think about all of the different things that you communicated, and a lot of us know the stripes or the challenges that a lot of our women experience as a part of, growing up and in corporate and just a lot of different fields. I want you to think about that woman that is listening to this right now, that is experiencing those challenges, that maybe is trying to find that break, or is, like you said, looking for love in the wrong places, whether it's in a man, whether it's in a corporate position that she's undervalued in, or whether it's whatever. What would you say to that woman to kind of just get her one step closer to living within her God-given abilities as well?
Okay, well, I definitely want to talk to her and say, what is your goal within 365 days? I know that's a lot of days to think about, but within 1 year, where do you see yourself? And I want you to write that down. And if you feel like, okay, I can't even think of that right now, all right, I want you to envision a better version of yourself. What do you truly want for you? And it's not selfish to think about you, because you matter. You need to be filled in. You need love. You need nurturing. You need support. And so when you can think of that thing that you want to do, let's say, for instance, it may be, you want a better body. Okay. So what are some steps that you can take to get a better body? Okay. Go to the gym. Now, what type of, are you going to get a trainer? What is your reward? Set yourself up in minor goals. So let's say within 3 months, you want to have a better body so that you feel good about yourself. Okay. So now how are you going to get there within 3 months? I think of things in goals, because that's really what makes visions come to pass. You can have a major goal, which is a 365-day goal, but then break it down into increments. 3 months, you want to have a better body. What are some steps you're going to take? Because you have the motivation inside of you to do it. But what is going to keep you going is your routines, your regimen, and having the discipline. And so sometimes you can't do it alone. It's accountability here. We have to be able to talk with other women to keep us going, because we're not in this alone. And when you realize that, there's support around you and you're being encouraged and you fill yourself up every single day. I always say, have a regimen and a routine, a daily routine. And when you know how to get into that place of, let's say you have a morning routine, what is your prayer life like? What is your meditation? Are you doing meditation? Are you speaking affirmations? All of these things matter, because in order to get to that goal that you want to see yourself as in 365 days, it takes little bitty steps, that daily routine, that's providing for yourself of self-love, the taking out the time to spend time with talking to God and hearing what he says about you, not about what man says and putting all these titles and pressure and anxiety on yourself, but what is that sacred place like in your heart? And begin to write out, journal your thoughts, get all those thoughts out of your mind. I have a journal that I take around with me in my purse. And that helps me to get my thoughts out of my mind, because one thing we do a lot of self-sabotage. And that can begin to make you feel like I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not all this, because we're prone to hearing that. And so when you begin to write your thoughts out and you begin to look back and see, does this sound like a confident woman? Does this sound like a confident entrepreneur? Is this something that I feel like is good for me? No, the answer's already within you. And you have to believe that when you find the answers inside of you, you start to see your life change. That's how you begin to build more confidence in yourself and start to share your story and your journey. So it all takes those little bitty steps, those little goals every single day. And you begin to see things start to change for your life.
That is such a beautiful description of exactly the steps that are necessary for that transformation to take place. And I think one thing that you hit on that I definitely want to reference is the regimen, the routines. And I think it's so important because I personally believe that willpower doesn't work. I believe that discipline needs to be present when we lose our motivation or when we lose that, feeling of inspiration, where we don't really want to do it today. We have to have a disciplined routines and a regimen. So could you talk to us a little bit about what your regimen, what your routine is, just so that they could potentially write that down as they're listening as well?
Okay. So like I said before, I like goals. So I set up myself in a 21-day streak, and I actually use sticky notes. I use sticky notes to hold myself accountable. There was a point in my life last year where I was really exhausted. I was down, I was tired, and I was like, I really want to change. And so I was like, let's set yourself up on a 21-day streak. So on that sticky note, if you can, get a sticky note pad, and then write down 1 to 3 goals that you want to accomplish within 21 days. Set yourself up on, like, let's say, for instance, mine is waking up at 6 a.m., reading for 30 minutes a day. I just have 2 right now. I'm on a streak right now. I just have 2. So I'm writing that out. I'm writing out the day, like what day it is, day 5, January 13th. And then I would write out, read for 30 minutes, or, and I'll also write down to wake up at 6 a.m. So I have that already written out. Once I wake up at 6 a.m., I cross it off. Once I read for 30 minutes, I cross it off. And then I post it on my wall where I can see it every single day. So because it's a reminder that I'm on track. Okay, that's keeping me accountable. Another thing is that in my morning routine, I actually just have prayer time. I speak affirmations. I talk to myself. I give myself a hug. I feel my emotions. If I feel like I have anxiety, I lay my hands on my heart. I begin to breathe and think about what is causing that anxiety. When I get to the root of my emotions, every single time I'm by myself and I feel some type of way, I'm like, okay, what is causing me to feel nervous right now? What's causing me to feel intense? And then I begin to go on meditation. So think about those. I think about those things that trigger me, and I try to calm myself down, because I know that if I'm triggered, all over the place, confused, frustrated, stressed, my day, things aren't going to go well. So I make sure that I'm filled up in the morning. And so at night, I don't have like a 100% routine for a night routine, but I do make sure I do some deep breathing. So I go to bed at peace, not filled with anxiety, because I won't be able to go to sleep. So having a routine daily and then doing the sticky note method, that helps me to keep going, and I start to see results.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the process that it got to, I guess the process before you were this regiment, right? Or this regiment oriented. I think that so often, and anybody listening right now, or even watching this, you hear the regimen, you hear the routine, but we're not always this person. I remember the days where I was all over the place, and I was always caught up by distractions and caught up, missing deadlines, and I was all over the place, and I wasn't able to really be as successful or as, accomplished or joyful or, like you said, peaceful as we are in this present moment. So I guess, what was the experience prior to you living the life that you live today? Like, who were you before? What took place that actually was a catalyst to you living this way today?
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's so important to recognize. I had a lot of discombobulation, like disorganized schedules, knowing as an entrepreneur, things all over the place. I felt very also emotionally wounded as well. I wasn't taking out time to do some deep within searching. I was constantly on the go, because think about it, as an entrepreneur, you're on the go. You think you got to meet all these different deadlines, not making time for yourself. Like, that begins to start to weigh on you. I was really stressed. I would go to sleep crying every night. I was dysfunctional in my finances as well. And I'm getting on track with that too. That's getting much better. And then also relationships are getting really all over the place. And so when you're not taking care of yourself, that begins to start to get like a twister. Like think about like how much like a tornado goes around and it just goes anywhere that it wants to go and it tears up every single thing. And then now you're angry and you're frustrated and going out. That's how it was for me. And so I realized once I got to my breaking point, I was like, okay, I have to change. I have to become confident. My finances are affected because I'm not confident enough in myself. And so that's what really triggered me to start getting on the role of creating a routine for myself. And I remember hearing someone say like motivation only lasts temporarily, but your routines and your regimen is going to keep you going. And that's what made me think, what can I do to start keeping myself accountable so that, because no one else around me is like in the same arena of wanting to be on a routine. I have to hold myself accountable. So what can I do? And that's when I got into sticky notes, 21-day streak, remembering your why. And that's what keeps me going.
I love that. And I think you said one of the two most powerful words is breaking point.
Yes.
Oftentimes we are experiencing breaking points, but we don't even know that we're within a breaking point and things need to change.
Right.
And we also don't know. I believe before a breaking point happens, there are certain triggers. There's certain things that take place prior to the breaking point taking place, right? And then we're down and out. So I guess it's twofold question. Could you talk about what was going on prior to the breaking point? And then for somebody listening, how did you know that this was a breaking point season and now it's time to shift forward? Because I do believe that there's somebody right now that's possibly in a breaking point, but they don't have the self-awareness that you have. They didn't reflect enough that like you did. So they were still discombobulated and they're continuing to live in a breaking point and they don't even realize it.
Okay, I'll dive a little bit deeper. I care a lot about myself. And when I have the ability to, when I start to see things disorganized, when I see things feeling out of hand, and I feel like most of all, financially, that's what affects me the most. It's like when I see that, my bank account's overdrawn, when I see that, my dad, he's 68 and he's having to work or things like that, I think about those things and I begin to weigh on myself like, Arnesjah, are you going to do better? Are you going to pick up the work that you need to do to start? Are you going to take up your responsibilities and take them seriously? Are you going to take yourself seriously? I started to ask myself those questions and I started to think like, Arnesjah, nobody else is going to do it for you. So what are you going to do? Are you going to let yourself sink into debt? Are you going to let yourself sink into the limitations and the limited thinking? Are you going to let yourself sink into dysfunctional relationships? Are you going to let yourself sink or are you going to swim above water? Because if you think about it, think about someone who is out and they're in the water in the deep end and they're swimming. And you have this, you know that there's land that you need to get to. The boat's sunk, the boat's off, broken, something's wrong with it, but you need to get to this land, this destination. And so here you are swimming, taking the courage to swim in the deep end and get yourself above water. And if you find yourself losing your breath and you feel like, I'm never going to get to this land, I'm never going to feel better about myself, things aren't going to get better. So now I am just going to sink. And then you sink all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. And here you are, just, you're letting your life go. And so here it is. There's a rescue person right above water. Are you going to let yourself go and sink all the way down? Or are you going to reach up when someone reaches down for you? Because there's always going to be something that comes into place because God knows what you can handle. And when you see that person who is giving you their hand to help, because it may be a mentor, it may be someone, a motivational message, it may be a coach person, anyone. There's somebody up there who's going to reach their hand down to help you. And you have to begin to swim through that water and reach up, grab their hand, because there's always going to be something that's going to help you out. And once you get that help you need, you take on what they tell you. You take on what solutions they provide for you. You take on the strategy that they give you. And once you take that strategy on, because I didn't do it by myself, there have been coaches, I know you have helped me out as well. Like there have been people that come into my life just randomly or with purpose. And they would say, hey, do you need X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, yes, I need this right now. And I'm not this prideful person where I say, no, I don't want your shot. No, I'm going for it. Let's see, how can you help me? Because I need help right now. And once they give you the help that you need, then you keep going. You keep going, go along with them and go to that destination, because you may not get to the land yet. You may get to another boat. You know what I'm saying? And so once you get the help that they give you, apply it to your life, and then go into how can you begin to like see results from that. So that's how I got through this process. And it's been helpful for other people. So shout out to all the coaches and mentors out there who just came to my life and helped me out.
Definitely. I believe that's definitely powerful, man. And anybody listening, the level of self-reflection, the level of work that you've done internally is absolutely beautiful. And I think anybody listening right now, this is what it looks like. This is the visual after you do the work, right? After you go through a season of not having the answers, after you go a season of sinking, after you go through a season of trying to swim and feeling like the shore is just going further and further away. This is what it looks like. And that humility, that resiliency, and that still commitment to excellence and inspiring and showing up for people, even when there are certain challenges that we all continue to experience. I definitely I want to give you your flowers and just continue to let you know that you're on the right track and you're inspiring me just in this message. And I really appreciate that as well. Oftentimes we get to points, whether it's on a podcast, on a live, in a book, just in our lives where we don't really get to share everything that we would want to share. There's always that speech that we give. It's like, dang, I wish I would have said that. There's always that book that we wrote. It's like, oh man, I could have put that in there. There's always that live. It was like, oh, I meant to mention that. In this moment right now, if you had 60 seconds to share any message with the world that it would spread its wings and touch every single person in the world, what would you say?
Okay, if I could say anything, I would definitely say believe in yourself. That's the first thing that comes to mind. As cliche that might sound, I just think I want you to go a little bit deeper into believing in you. You can believe in God, you can believe in other people, you can believe in other people to do it for you. But when you begin to believe in you and the power that you have within to shape and change someone's life, because that's what you're here for. You're here to plant seeds, and that begins to grow. And so believing in yourself will give you the power, will give you the strength, and taking on everything that God says about you, and you use that to believe in yourself and take forth the mission that you're called to, that's really going to be what impacts people's lives, and you're going to feel like you're doing a great justice on this earth. So believe in yourself.
Do you think that you're at a place where you're 100% believing in yourself?
I will not say 100%. Definitely say, I'll be honest with you, I do have some fears still, but I want to say I'm about like 80%. I have gotten to the point where I'm like every day having to think about, if you go back, what is your life going to be like? But if you go forward, your life is going to be much better. And it musters up, you got to muster up the strength. You got to muster up the strength every single day to post on Instagram, to go and book yourself for speaking engagements and podcasts and things like that. So it requires you to believe in yourself.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Where can we find you?
Well, you can definitely find me on Instagram. That's my most active social media page. It's at I am Arnesjah. That's IAMARNESJAH. And also my website is thegodidentitysociety.com. And there you can find author resources. I have my podcast as well on there. And also if you want to do a coaching session as well, I provide free training. So I'd be happy to meet anyone that comes along.
I am so thankful for you blessing us with your presence. I truly believe that you are a gem. You're definitely a diamond. And anybody listening right now, I want you to go follow her. I want you to go book your session, because I've seen it and she's giving so much value away, And I want you to go book her, pay her, and then also promote what she's doing. If you're a woman or a man, because I believe that not just women need to learn their God identity. I believe that men also need to as well. And if you are a man that maybe you want a man coach, I want you to recommend a woman to her. Okay. I want you to recommend 5 women to her, because I believe that it's important for us to continue to plant our seeds and sow into the world and support each other in this season. Again, this is another episode of the Writer's Game podcast, where we magnify your voices. that's what we focus on, magnifying your voices, telling that story so that you could be able to monetize your message. We are here with Miss Miller on another episode, and we'll see you guys next episode.